She stared at me across the table, calm, smiling, like nothing had happened. "You fired the wrong person," she said. "My attorney will be in touch." That was the moment I knew this wasn't just about theft. This was war. Silent, calculated war. My name is Daniel Royce. I'm the founder of Royce and Langston Capital. I built it from scratch. No investors, no shortcuts. Just 23 years of my life, poured into something honest. And Jessica Green, she was my protege, smart, hungry, precise. I mentored her like she was family. Gave her access, gave her trust, gave her everything. Then I found out she stole over $50,000. Not from me, but from the clients who trusted us. Elderly couples, single moms saving for college, veterans living on pension checks. And when I confronted her, she smiled, then sued me for wrongful termination, claimed I harassed her, claimed she was the victim, but she didn't know something. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to bury her with truth, because she stole from the wrong man. And justice doesn't always come loud. Sometimes it shows up in silence. This is my story. And if you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted, you might want to hear it. And if you're the kind who believes revenge can be quiet, click subscribe. The rest, it gets darker. My name is Daniel Royce. I'm 48 years old, and I built Royce and Langston Capital from nothing. No investors, no family wealth, just $12,000 in a rented basement office in downtown Seattle. I remember those first years like they were yesterday. 12-hour days, cold coffee, stacks of paperwork, and no one returning my calls. Clients didn't trust me yet. Banks laughed at my projections. Even my wife, Lauren, she tried to support me, but I saw it in her eyes. She didn't think this dream would last. She left in 2010, said I cared more about spreadsheets than family dinners. She wasn't wrong. But when you've got nothing, building something real becomes the only way to breathe. I cleaned the floors myself, made cold calls until my voice cracked, held client meetings in a room with folding chairs and a broken AC. It wasn't sexy, it wasn't fast, but it was mine. By year 10, we were managing over $30 million in assets. I had a staff, an office with windows, a team that called me boss with respect, not sarcasm. But none of that meant as much to me as one thing: reputation. I believed you could make money without screwing people over. That trust wasn't just a strategy, it was the product. And I protected that product like it was my last name. Which is why, when someone inside tried to burn it down, it wasn't just betrayal, it was war. Jessica Green joined us in the spring of 2019, fresh out of the University of Washington, top of her class, majored in accounting, minored in psychology. Smart choice. She walked into the interview wearing a gray suit 2 sizes too big, but her eyes focused, curious, hungry. I liked her. She reminded me of me, when I still believed hard work would fix everything. She asked smart questions, took notes like every word mattered, stayed late without being asked, caught errors no one else noticed. Within 2 years, I trusted her with portfolio audits, client briefings, and even our quarterly investor calls. She was calm under pressure, never flustered, always 2 steps ahead. By year 3, I was grooming her for partner. We had lunch once a week, talked about her goals, her family, her future. She told me she wanted to build something real, not just chase titles. I believed her. Hell, I wanted to believe her. She even reminded me to take breaks. Once left a note on my desk: even engines need rest. That one got to me, because she saw things, not just numbers but people. I didn't see it back then, but that was her power. She saw what made you trust her, then used it to open every locked door. And I gave her the keys. Every single one. I didn't just train Jessica. I invested in her. She wasn't just another employee. She was something like a daughter if I'd ever had one. She brought me coffee when I forgot to eat, stayed back on Christmas Eve to help finish reports. Once she even canceled a vacation to Denver just because a client asked for a last-minute portfolio review. I never asked her to. She just did it. And that meant something to me. In this business, loyalty doesn't show up often, but when it does, you protect it. I invited her to the annual partners retreat in Napa, let her present in front of board members, told people she's the future of this firm, and I meant it. When my sister got sick, Jessica sent flowers before anyone else did. Not from the company, from her. I remember looking at that card and thinking, this one's different. This one's real. So I gave her access, client accounts, internal systems, even my calendar. There were no red flags, just green lights. And in hindsight, that was the problem. She didn't force the door open. I handed her the keys with both hands and a smile, because sometimes the people you let closest are the ones who cut the deepest. And Jessica, she knew exactly where to aim. It started small, always does. A client statement showed a $500 discrepancy. Nothing dramatic, could have been a bank error, could have been a late transaction, but I noticed it. I brought it up to Jessica. She leaned in, scanned the screen and said, "Oh yeah, I flagged that yesterday. It's a processing lag from Chase." She said it smoothly, confident, no panic, no flinch. And I believed her, because I wanted to. 2 weeks later, it happened again. Different client, this time $1,200 off. Same explanation. System lag, bank delay, audit cycle mismatch. It all sounded right, and yet something in my gut whispered otherwise. I started checking more statements. Quietly. Late at night. Just me, the screen, and a sinking feeling I couldn't shake. I kept telling myself, don't jump to conclusions. People make mistakes. She's earned your trust. But trust is funny. It can blind you long before it betrays you. Then one Friday afternoon, I found an account that hadn't had activity in months, suddenly showing a small outbound transfer. Exactly $847.16. No note. No request. It slipped through reporting protocols. And it wasn't just a mistake. It was intentional. I didn't say a word to Jessica, not yet, but I opened a private folder on my desktop that night, named it in all caps, "Do not ignore." It wasn't just the numbers. It was the clothes, the car, the way she moved through the office like nothing could touch her. Jessica showed up one Monday in a brand new Lexus RX, pearl white, dealer tag still on. "Treating yourself," I joked. She smiled. "Spoiling myself before student loans due." I laughed, but my chest tightened. 2 weeks later, she wore Louboutin heels to a staff meeting. Red bottoms don't lie, not on a $72,000 salary. There were Instagram photos too. Resorts in Aspen, sky lounges in Chicago, tasting menus in Napa. She never posted captions, just vibes, just silence that said, "Don't ask." I did ask once. We were walking out after a late board prep. I said, "You win the lottery and forget to tell us." She chuckled, said her great aunt passed, left her a chunk of money. It made sense, sort of. But inheritances don't usually come in monthly installments, and certainly not timed right before quarterly bonuses. Gregory, my partner, noticed too. He pulled me aside after our holiday party. "She's burning cash like she's in fintech, not finance," he said. I brushed it off, told him she was just enjoying life, but the truth, I didn't want to know, because if I started digging, I might find something I couldn't unsee. And once you see it, you can't go back. I didn't want gossip. I wanted proof. So I called Ralph. Ralph Carter isn't just a numbers guy. He's ex-FBI. White-collar division, quiet voice, steel eyes, and a brain that makes spreadsheets bleed. We'd used him once before when a former rep claimed we'd shorted his commission. Turned out to be a lie. Ralph shut it down in 48 hours. No drama. Just documents. When I called him this time, I said 3 words. "Can you look?" He didn't ask why. Didn't ask who. Just said, "Send me the logs." Full access. No one knows I'm involved. I built a shadow folder on our server. Named it Vendor Review. Shared it only with Ralph. He went to work. 2 days later, he texted timeline check. "When did she get access to portfolio system?" I checked. 3 months ago, right after her promotion. Ralph replied, "Found something. Small. Could be nothing, but feels designed." That word stuck with me. Designed. Because mistakes don't repeat in patterns. People do. He told me to wait. Not confront her. Not flag anything. "We're playing chess now," he said. "And she's already moved her queen." So I waited. Smiled at her in meetings. Thanked her for her work. Watched her lead calls with clients she'd been quietly bleeding. And all the while, Ralph was digging. Ralph called on a Sunday. His voice was flatter than usual. That meant trouble. "I need you to see something." We met at his office, a quiet building on the edge of downtown. No logo on the door, just numbers. Inside, the lights were dim. Documents covered the table bank statements, logs, audit trails. Ralph pointed at a line of transactions. See this, all under $1,000. All from dormant client accounts. I nodded. Every one of these was routed through a consulting company, North Cascade Solutions. Never heard of it, I said. You wouldn't. It was formed 8 months ago. Registered in Tacoma. Ralph handed me the incorporation form, filed by a Jake Morrison. Who's he? Ralph raised an eyebrow. Jessica's boyfriend. I stared at the paper. My stomach turned cold. She's routing client funds through his company. Micro transactions. Just enough to fly under radar. Every time someone gets too close, she stops, waits, then moves to another client. How much, I asked. He pulled a summary sheet. 53,427. That we can prove. Could be more. I leaned back, silent. She didn't steal from me. She stole from retirees, teachers, people who trusted us with their savings. And she did it while smiling in client meetings, pitching long-term plans she never believed in. Ralph looked at me. What do you want to do? My answer was simple. Finish what you started. We called her in at 2 p.m. sharp. HR was present. My partner Gregory stood by the window silent. Jessica walked in gray blazer heels, clicking iPad in hand. She smiled. Agenda for today. I didn't smile back. Jessica, I said, your employment with Royce and Langston is terminated, effective immediately. The room went quiet. She blinked. I'm sorry. What? We've discovered irregularities in client accounts under your access, Gregory said. Significant ones. Jessica's face shifted. Not fear, not guilt. Just calculation. Irregularities. That sounds vague. Over $50,000 has been misdirected, I said. We have documentation. You mean mistakes, system glitches? She laughed soft, controlled. I can explain every line in those reports. Janet from HR slid the termination letter across the table. You'll need to collect your belongings. Security will escort you out. Jessica didn't read it. She stared at me instead. You're making a mistake, she said, voice colder now. A huge one. I didn't flinch. She stood, straightened her jacket. I gave this place 6 years. Built trust. Managed your biggest clients. You exploited that trust, I replied. She narrowed her eyes. You haven't heard the last of this. 2 hours later, my phone buzzed. A text. You fired the wrong person. My attorney will be in touch. And that was the moment I realized she wasn't running. She was coming straight at me. The next morning, my office line rang. Unknown number, downtown area code. Mr. Royce, this is Martin Klein. I represent Jessica Green regarding her recent termination. His tone was polite, too polite. My client intends to file suit for wrongful dismissal. She also reports a hostile work environment and potential gender discrimination. My heart dropped. He wasn't bluffing. She was terminated for theft, I said. Alleged theft, Klein corrected. And as of now, you have no admissible proof. She routed over 50 grand through a shell company. Again, alleged. Meanwhile, my client has emails suggesting she raised concerns about accounting inconsistencies weeks ago and was then fired for it. I froze. It hit me like ice. Jessica was flipping the narrative, not just denying the crime, but painting herself as the whistleblower, and me as the CEO who silenced her. Klein continued, if this proceeds will involve the EEOC, possibly the press. I didn't reply. Couldn't. After the call, Gregory walked in. I told him everything. He sat down hard. She's not just smart, he muttered. She's surgical. And he was right. Jessica wasn't trying to win quietly. She was aiming to destroy me in court on paper and in the court of public opinion. And unless we found something airtight, she might succeed. I didn't go to war with press releases. I went to war with data. Ralph brought in someone he trusted, former NSA, digital forensics expert, the kind of guy who doesn't show up on LinkedIn. We gave him full access to the firm's servers, backups, logs, deleted files. 3 days later, he called. I found her. He shared his screen. Black background, green code. At the top, Jessica_green_email_archive.zip recovered. Timestamped. Encrypted badly. He cracked it in 10 minutes. Inside, we found what we needed. Emails from Jessica to her boyfriend. Mentions of routing strategy. Notes like keep under $1K each time. Flags trigger above that. And then one draft she never sent. Just 6 words. If they push, I push harder. Ralph leaned back. She knew this might happen. She planned for it. But there was more. A spreadsheet titled ALT_portfolio_owned. List of accounts, elderly clients, amounts taken, dates matched every transaction we'd flagged. She didn't just steal. She documented it. We printed it all, bound it, page by page. Gregory looked at the folder and said, "This isn't revenge. This is math." And that's when I knew she might have built a great story, but I was about to end it with facts. Ralph had a plan, a quiet one. No subpoenas, no courtrooms, just coffee. He reached out to North Cascade Solutions, the shell company, posing as a business owner looking for consulting services. They replied within hours. The next day, Ralph met Jake Morrison, Jessica's boyfriend, at a corner cafe in Tacoma. Hidden mic and jacket, recorder on. Jake was early, nervous but eager. Not a criminal, just in too deep. "Thanks for meeting," Ralph said. "Your firm seems discreet." Jake nodded. "Yeah, we're new, but we've done solid work. Any clients I'd know." Jake smiled. "Mostly back-end stuff, financial services, accounting transfers. My girlfriend actually hooked me up with our first big contract." "Your girlfriend?" "Jessica. She works in finance. Said her company needed to offload some portfolio tasks. She set everything up." "What kind of tasks?" "Asset routing, investment movement between internal accounts, standard stuff." Ralph sipped his coffee. Silent. Jake kept talking. "She told me the payments were structured that way for compliance. All legal. She's smart, man. Real smart." Ralph ended the meeting casually, shook hands, then walked out with 21 minutes of recorded gold. Back at the office, he played it for me, and for the first time in weeks, I exhaled. Because now, we had her voice through his. It happened at 2:17 a.m., 3 days after her termination. Our system flagged an attempted login, admin level, from a deactivated account, Jessica's account. The firewall caught it, blocked access, logged the IP, location her apartment in Capitol Hill. I called Ralph. He checked the server logs, confirmed the breach. "She used the same credentials we disabled," he said. "She didn't just try to get in, she went for the same client folder she stole from." I stared at the screen. Timestamp, IP match, targeted files. Clear, deliberate, stupid. She just gave us everything I whispered. Ralph nodded. Innocent people don't hack systems they don't work for. It was her final mistake. Not because she was desperate, but because she still believed she could outsmart everyone. She didn't know we'd baited the access point, left just enough open to see what she'd do. And she did exactly what guilty people do. She went back to cover her tracks and stepped right into the net. We archived the logs, tied them to the transaction chain, connected the breach to her home router. Now we didn't just have theory or motive or circumstantial noise. We had intent. Gregory looked at the screen and finally said what we were all thinking. "She's done." I didn't want revenge. I wanted consequences. So I picked up the phone and called the FBI. I was transferred to a special agent, Helen Foster, White Collar Crimes Division. Calm voice, precise questions. We met 2 days later, in my lawyer's office. The air smelled like ink and pressure. Ralph laid out the evidence, recovered emails, the shell company's financials, Jake's recorded confession, the system breach logs, client account losses itemized. Agent Foster flipped through it all. Slow, silent. Finally, she said, "This is clean. Wire fraud, money laundering, computer intrusion." She looked at me. "You did your homework." I nodded, didn't smile. "What happens now? We'll open a case file, interview witnesses, secure warrants, present to a federal prosecutor." "How long?" "Months." "But," she paused, "with what you've provided, charges are almost guaranteed." I sat back. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel hunted, didn't feel helpless, didn't feel outmaneuvered. Jessica wanted this to be a game of words, a courtroom chess match. But now, she was out of pieces. Agent Foster stood, gathered the files, left the room like she already knew the ending, and me. I finally exhaled, because justice had just left the building with my evidence in her hands. 3 weeks later, Jessica was arrested at her apartment. Calm, no resistance. The local business journal ran a short piece. Former employee pleads guilty in financial theft. They mentioned the firm Royce and Langston Capital. Said we discovered the fraud through internal auditing and fully cooperated with the FBI. That was it. No drama, no headlines. Just a paragraph in the back of the finance section. I clipped the article, framed it, hung it next to the very first dollar this company ever earned. Not because I was proud, not because I won, but because I needed to remember something. Trust isn't a branding tool. It's a responsibility. I gave her everything. She burned it, and still we survived. Gregory and I rebuilt what we lost. Clients stayed. Referrals kept coming. Because the thing about reputation, it doesn't scream. It whispers. Over time, through action. And in the end, that's what saved us. Not a clever statement. Not a dramatic trial. Just the truth. One page at a time. So now every time someone walks into my office and asks what we stand for, I point to that frame and say that's what happens when you protect what matters. I used to believe betrayal came with shouting, slammed doors, public breakdowns, but it doesn't. Not always. Sometimes betrayal comes in the form of a smile, a late night email, a thank you that feels real until it isn't. Jessica didn't just steal money. She stole space. Space in my head and my belief that loyalty meant safety. But here's the thing. Betrayal isn't the end. It's a filter. It shows you who's left when the damage settles. I lost something in this, but I kept what mattered: my name, my word, my spine. So if you've ever been used, silenced, set up, you're not weak. You're just one move away from taking it back. 'Cause revenge isn't about rage. Not really. It's about clarity. And if this story made you feel seen, even just a little, then maybe there's more worth hearing. Subscribe. Not for me, but for the stories that speak when you can't. Stories that whisper you're not alone. Stories that say justice doesn't scream. It builds quietly, and then it wins.